Chief Coordinator of Bairak Yuva Center, to felicitate our guest of honor, Professor Ponchanon Das, who is a professor and convener, PhD Research Advisory Committee. So please call our guest on the dais. Thank you, sir. So our first speaker of the day is Professor Panchanan Das. He is a professor of economics teaching time series and panel data. He has published several articles on growth, inequality and poverty in referred journals and edited volume. He is a principal author of Economics 1 and Economics 2 textbooks at the graduate level, published by Oxford University Press, New Delhi. So next, sir will be delivering his talk on innovation and economics for building nation. So I request sir to take the charge. Sir, you can change the slides with this, or else you can use
Yes.
it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, and good morning, everybody. I am really thankful to the organizer for inviting me here. I am from economics background, but today is the era of multidisciplinary. A particular discipline has a little significance in reality. So in most of the cases, in most of the applications, we need to combine together from different disciplines. And keeping in mind, innovation is the theme of this seminar. And when I got invitation from the organizer, particularly Moshumi, I agreed just by looking at the theme, innovation. Innovation has a little link to economics. It is basically a multidisciplinary. But to understand what innovation is, the relevance of the topic, we need to know some basic backgrounds of economics. And economics basically is a real life phenomenon. All of we know basic economics without formal training in economics. What we are doing every day, this is economics in micro sense. What are looking at the macro aspect, at the aggregative aspect, in a particular country, in the world, this is economics. So all of we have some experience, and on the basis of this experience, we can think about what economics is and how it is related to innovation. Okay? Is it visible properly, or I can increase the font size? So can you?
Ma'am, this is in image format.
No, no, it is in, I sent it in PDF. Exactly, PDF.
Is it fine?
Yes. Yes, I think it is comfortable. So let me start with the uh, definition of innovation. What innovation means? Basically, invention and innovation both are related, although they are not similar. You know, innovation basically means the discovery of a new things, discovery of new items, discovery of new technology, etc. And application of invention in production, in commerce, in business is basically innovation. So innovation is the practical application of invention. So we can define innovation in a very lucid manner in this way. Okay? So innovation basically deals with the introduction of new or significantly improved products, process, or organizational structure. So we can discuss innovation in 3 dimensions, that is the improvement of products, appearance of new type of products, or appearance of new type of technology in producing a particular product, or some changes, radical changes in organizational structure. And in many cases, particularly when we talk about entrepreneurship, we need to combine both new product through new technology, through improved organizational structure. So this is basically innovation. Now, how innovation occurs, we can take a simple example. Innovation activities we can look at in the form of R&D. Every firm, every company today involve some sort of research and development. So innovation basically appears, I already mentioned innovation is nothing but the application of invention in commerce, in business. So how we can apply? So we need some invention, we need some discovery of new things, and for that we need some research and development. So, you know, today almost every firm, every entrepreneur spend some part in research and development. So research and development is the activity relating to innovations. And outcome of innovation appears in the form of patent, all of you know. So you discover a new method, new technology, you can get a patent. So patent could be treated as the outcome of innovation. Okay? And as I already mentioned, innovation activities relate to the research and development. So innovation is the outcome of firms' investment in knowledge capital. So we can think about research and development in the form of expenditure on knowledge capital, managerial practices, as well as organizational decisions. So as a combination of 3 dimensions, we can have innovation in the form of new improved types of products through improved technologies and better management. Okay? Now, a firm invests in knowledge capital which in turn leads to process and product innovations. But product innovations are not necessarily related to changes in the efficiency of production. So we can discuss innovation in two ways basically. First, in the form of product innovation. Second, in the form of process innovation. Process innovation means how do we produce a particular product by applying new method, applying advanced technologies. So this is related to process innovation. And product innovation means new form of a product serving the similar kind of activities like this. Okay? So if we look at product innovation and process innovation basically relates to the problem of efficiency, problem of employment, and we focus more on process innovation basically because you have already looked at the title of my presentation is basically innovation and employment, some basic issues. Innovation has different aspects, but why we have chosen employment? Because employment is basically a vulnerable issue in implementing innovation in all cases, and in achieving social SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, we have to keep in mind the basic issues on employment. Because you know, employment or labor is the basic input in producing anything. Without labor, we can't produce. We need a machine. But in producing machine, we need labor. So in that sense, we can think labor as the basic input. Basic input in that sense, without labor, we can't think about production of anything. For that reason, we have chosen to discuss how innovation affects employment, how employment contributes to innovation, etc. And in understanding these issues, we have to concentrate more on process innovation than product innovation. So first of all, we have to understand the difference between product innovation and process innovation. Product innovation means new improved product. Process innovation means application of new methods, improved methods by applying improved technology. So when we apply technology, it will affect labor, it will affect employment. So in this way, we can look at the link between innovation and employment. Okay? So the process of innovations, particularly application of new technology, are directed towards improvements in efficiency. So innovation improves efficiency through the application of new technology. Now, we have to keep in mind the difference in efficiency and productivity. These terms are popular, we use frequently. You are more efficient, you are less efficient, you are more productive, you are less productive. Productivity and efficiency are related, but they are not similar. Okay? There are some difference. I am talking these basic things relating to these issues simply because I think we are assembled here from different disciplines. All of we are not from typical economics. So, to understand the problem, we need to understand the difference of the simple things. So, efficiency can improve productivity, but productivity cannot improve efficiency. So, efficiency is the necessary condition for improving productivity. So, productivity we can think as the outcome, intermediate outcome from more efficient application of inputs. Okay. And more efficient application of inputs can be obtained through innovation. Now, the question is, who will do innovation? Innovation basically is done by the entrepreneurs, the firms, the company. Question is why? Why a firm or a company or the entrepreneur spends money in innovations, spends money in knowledge capital, spends money in research and development? What is the objective of the firm? What is the objective of the company? A basic objective of a company is to maximize a profit, nothing more than this. Okay? So, to maximize profit, a particular firm, a particular company, a particular entrepreneur spend a part of their dividend, a part of their profit in innovation to make more profit. Because through innovation, a firm can produce higher quality products that can be sold in the market at a higher price, at a higher rate, by applying improved technology. So, the basically any firm, any entrepreneur, any producer do not think about labor directly, but they have to think about labor along with the capital or machineries or technology like this. Ultimate objective of a firm is to maximize profit, and for maximizing profit, they invest in knowledge capital, in research and development to get a patent, and these kind of activities are more relevant, not equally relevant everywhere in every sector. More relevant, you know, in a pharmaceutical sector, in automobiles, there is a scope of more innovations. There is a scope of application of new methods, new products, implementation of the new discovery in pharmaceutical sectors or new drugs. How to produce a new drug, how to discover a new drug. So, if a new drug is produced to take care of new kind of disease, for example, we are in a phase of pandemic, COVID-19. So, every pharmaceutical sector try to produce some relevant drugs to tackle this kind of disease. And a front runner obviously will capture the market in a larger extent to make larger profits. So, for that reason, a firm, an entrepreneur innovates in their activities. Okay? So, they are not basically interested in improving research and development in a country, in improving the welfare of the country. Their basic interest to improve the welfare of their own, and as a byproduct, of course, the welfare of the labor involved in that sector obviously will increase. So, they are the byproduct. Okay? Now, if we think the process of innovation, you can easily understand a lot of uncertainties involved in the process. Innovation is the discovery of new product, discovery of new method. And a firm spends some money without knowing exactly its outcome. Outcome is not observable beforehand. Firm has to spend money first, then outcome will appear in future, and a firm don't know what will be the outcome, how it will be profitable, how it will be feasible in reality. It is not observable completely beforehand. So, in making a decision on investment in knowledge, in research and development, there is a lot of risks of the entrepreneur. An entrepreneur spend a huge amount of money, for example, in a particular project. You don't know whether this project will succeed or not with certainty. It may succeed, it may not succeed. If it succeeds, it will be profitable to the firm. If it doesn't succeed, the firm has to make a loss, thus money spent to this project. So, an entrepreneur, the firm has to take a lot of risks in innovation. And you can think return as a premium for risk. So, a firm will take a risk when there is a possibility for higher return. So, if a firm thinks the possibility of higher returns in a particular project, in that case the firm will take a risk, otherwise not. So, the firm has to take a rational decision whether they will invest money in R&D, how much money to be investment in R&D, because there is a gestation lag. Suppose a particular project starts today, you can get its effect after 4 years, after 5 years, like this. So, there is a gestation lag, 3 or 4 years, and during this period there may be a lot of change. A particular firm has to face a competition from different rival firms. So, when a particular firm take a decision for innovation, the other firms relating to the same sector also try to invest on the same issue, and there is a competition. So, if you are competitive, you can succeed beforehand, you can enjoy the major share of the market. But if you cannot succeed in a proper time, you cannot enjoy the share of the market properly. So, this kind of risks appears in the process of innovation for a firm, for an entrepreneur. Now, normally when we are talking about innovations, the role of innovations in the economy I am use this term in a broader sense. So, contribution of innovations in an economy or major impact of innovation in an economy appears particularly in two forms. One form you can easily understand if you try. Innovation has an important effect on productivity. So, why firms invest on innovation? Simply because to improve the productivity of the inputs used in the production process. So, innovation has a positive role in productivity, and if productivity improves, if we think about the issue in aggregative sense, productivity growth or improvement in productivity leads to higher growth, higher economic growth. Economic growth means growth of the total income of a country. Total income of a country is measured by, all of you know, GDP, gross domestic product, or national income. So, innovation normally leads to more productivity leads to more growth. In this way, an economy, a country as a whole prospers through innovation. So, this is the aggregate outcome of innovation. This is one aspect. And through innovation, what appears in a country, in a society, is nicely described by Schumpeter in 1942. Creative destruction. This is the most popular phenomenon in economics. Creative destruction. Just think about the term. Creative destruction means you are destructing something to create a new. And you can get a nice example if we think about the music system. 15 or 20 years back, all of you know, record player dominated the market. After that, tape recorder appeared. So, record player destroyed, tape recorder created. So, after creation of tape recorder, record player industry started to disappear. Few years later, you know, compact disc, CD appeared in the market. So, after appearing CD, market for cassette, all of you know, used in tape recorder, disappeared. So, destroyed. So, creation of CD destroyed cassettes. After that, pen drive appeared. Creation of pen drive destroyed the market for CD, market for DVD. Now, nobody can use CD or DVD. We use simple pen drive. Particularly in the entertainment sector, you don't need to use pen drive as well. You can get freely by using YouTube. So, there are a lot of YouTube channels. You can get music freely. So, in this way, through the improvement of technology, old things disappeared, destroyed, new things appeared. So, this process is nicely described long years back by a famous economist, Schumpeter, and it is a very famous quotation, creative destruction. And innovation has a major role in this phenomenon in any society, in the economy. So, we can look at the growth process, we can look at the improvement in productivity through the process of creative destruction, and innovation has a major role to play in the process. We have to keep in mind. Now, you can easily understand in the context of productivity growth, innovation increases product quality and makes firms more competitive, which increases their revenue and size and forces existing firms producing old and obsolete versions of the product to exit the market. So, this is the major role of innovation. So, innovation creates farms more competitive, more productive, and innovation forces to exit the farms producing the obsolete product, which is described by the process of creative destruction. Okay? And if you go through the growth literature, some of you, if you are come from the economics background, you can understand very clearly, but without economics background also can understand if you try. In a growth literature, growth means, I am already saying, normally we use the term growth, growth rate. If you look at the TV shows, in news channels, a lot of debate appeared regarding growth rate. India's GDP growth rate declined, India's GDP growth rate increased, etc. So there is a process of growth, and there are a lot of theories how growth appeared. This is the domain of the growth theory. Okay? And in a growth theory, a major part, the neoclassical growth theory, in technical terms we can say, that is related to the Solow growth theory. Solow is a famous economist. It provides some phenomenon relating to growth issues. That is called the Solow growth model. In the Solow growth model, the basic driver of growth is the technological change. And technological change appears through innovations. Technological change creates productivity growth. So all are interrelated. So in this way, innovation has a major contribution in the growth process. Okay? So competitive R&D sector is treated as the engine of economic growth. So if you look at the slides, the citation shown within bracket, these are the available literature. So if you are interested, you can go through the literature to get a detailed analysis how innovation, how R&D improves productivity growth, how the investment in knowledge sector improves output growth, etc. And if we go through the literature, there is no controversy in making an inference. What is the inference? Investing in innovation increases the capabilities of firms, enabling them to compete in international markets while facilitating the adoption of new technologies that improve labor productivity. In short, we can make a summary of this statement in this way. Contribution of innovations in improving productivity. In this inference, there is no controversy. Everybody proves, everybody looked at the issue by using data from different countries, the contribution of innovation on productivity growth. But a lot of work, although available in the literature, how innovation contributes to productivity growth, how innovation contributes to economic growth, most of the works are related to the developed countries. The work, how innovation contributes to productivity growth, particularly relating to the developing countries like ours, where we are far behind the frontier in terms of the technology. There is a lack of scope, lack of work, the role of innovations. For that reason, if you look at academically, there is a lot of scope, the role of innovations in productivity growth, the role of innovations in other aspects in a country like India. Okay. But when we are look at the another aspects of innovations, and which is the focused area of today's discussion, is the contribution of innovation on employment. Now, if we apply your common sense, you can understand how innovation affects employment. Okay? Innovation provides modern technology. So, when we use modern technology in the production process, what kind of change may appear on employment? You can think, to use modern technology, you need skilled labor. So, application of modern technology through innovation creates demand for skilled labor. So, employment of skilled labor will increase through innovation. And there are a lot of works in this area, how innovation affects employment, and this phenomenon is called simply in this way, skill biased technological change. That is, technological change appeared through innovations which is biased towards skilled worker. That is, the technology using in production process today through the improvement needs more skilled labor. Okay? So, if innovation occurs, the demand for skilled labor will rise. So, employment for skilled labor will rise. So, if in a country like ours, just think about the structure of the workers we have in our country. In our country, you know, a majority of the workers are unskilled. So, what about the unskilled workers who are already absorbed in the production process? They will be removed from the production process when you apply improved technology. Improved technology needs skilled workers. So, innovation, although increases employment of the skilled worker, it destroys the employment of the unskilled worker. Okay? So, there are two kinds of effects we can think about of innovation. Effect on skilled worker is positive, that is, innovation increases demand for skilled workers. On the other hand, innovation reduces employment for unskilled worker. Okay? Do you follow my point? I am trying to present as lucid as possible. So, innovation means, just think the process in this way, innovation means you are applying modern technology. So, application of modern technology needs skilled labor. So, if you have a skilled labor in your country, employment will rise. At the same time, the unskilled workers who were absorbed already, they will be displaced by the skilled ones. So, there is a trade-off. One part of the workers will get job, other parts of the worker will out of the jobs. And so, we have to think about the net effect. So, the question is whether innovation will be supported or not from aggregative point of view. So, there are two kinds of issues we can keep in mind. One from the micro point of view, who actually innovates the firm, the entrepreneur, and we can look at the issue at aggregative point of view. From micro point of view, innovation will occur if it improves productivity. Micro unit cannot take care of the effect on employment. Their basic interest is on productivity. If innovation improves productivity, it will produce more profit, and this is the basic objective of the micro unit who actually innovates. The other issue is aggregative, the country as a whole, the society as a whole. Whether a society demands for innovation or not, that will depend on the demographic structure of the society, demographic structure of the country. So if in a country a majority of the workers are skilled, so how do we measure skilled? It is a very, very problematic issue. Normally, we can relate skill with education. So if we have educated workers, we normally think we have skilled workers, but it is not always true, because skill is something different. We cannot relate skilled accurately with education, particularly the system of education we have in our country, the general education. So general education, in many cases, in reality, in real life, in the production sector, has a little role. And today, you have idea, when you get a job through campusing, earlier there are some sectors which are restricted particularly for the engineers. Today, you can get the similar job without any engineering degree through campusing. Okay? A student with economics background, a student with statistics background, a student with chemical engineering background, they will do the same kind of job. And most of the jobs today are related to software, IT sector. Okay? So, the formal education, the general education, has a little link to the production technology. When you are working as a data analyst, for example, you are coming from engineering background, so you don't have formal training in data analyst. But when you are absorbing in a company, the company for their own interest provide you a special training to you for that particular kind of job. So in this way, you will be linked with the productive process. Okay? So the skilled, measurement of skill cannot be done properly in terms of education. But the question is, how do we know we have a skilled worker or not? Another way to measure skilled is the work experience in a particular sector. So work experience can also be treated as a proxy measure for skilled. So in this way, we have some idea whether in our country the proportion of skilled workers is more or proportion of unskilled worker is more. And hopefully your common sense help to understand, in a country like ours, we have a major portion of unskilled workers. So the question is, in a country like ours where unskilled workers are dominating, innovations, modern technology destroys job for majority of the workers. And this is the most relevant issue today, because all of you know innovation, you can use it in a more broader sense with the application of artificial intelligence, with the application of machine learnings. So they are dominating today, although the application of those is still limited in a developing country like ours, but it is already started in the developed world. And if we allow this kind of technology in our country, you cannot force to stop, because whether a firm, whether a company will use artificial intelligence, robotic technologies or not, robotic technologies is a substitute for human labor. So they will destroy a lot of jobs. So our government cannot stop it just by saying a company, you cannot apply it, because the basic objective of a company is to maximize profit. So if a company thinks his profit will be maximized by applying robotic technologies, they will apply. And in that case, the consequence we have to face. So we have to prepare for that stage. So as you are a student, you are a learners, so we have to keep in mind in the learning, teaching, learning process in that way, you have to be more competitive to get a job. You have to acquire an appropriate skill to get a job. Without skill, you cannot get a job. If you look at the job market, there is a significant change in the job market if you compare it in roughly 10 years back. There is no job, a very little job in the government sector today. So most of the jobs are available in the private sector, in the corporate sector. And corporate sector will provide you a salary, will continue you as a worker if you are a productive worker. If you are not productive worker, you will be displaced, simply displaced. There is no job security here. On the other hand, in the government sector, there is a job security. So if you are in government sector, you will be awarded more if you are lesser efficient. If you have other kind of parameters, you will be awarded more, but it is not possible in the private sector. So for the existence of you as a productive worker in a private sector, you will have to be prepared yourself accordingly. So in this context, the theme of this seminar is very, very useful. So we have to look at the issues in this way. Okay? So now let we look at the mechanism through which innovation actually affects employment. Innovation actually affects the job. It is not a simple mechanism, just like this. Innovation increases demand for skilled workers. Innovation displaces unskilled workers. Although apparently we can look at the problem in this way, but there is a complex mechanism behind it, and we can analyze how employment actually is affected by innovation. So let me try to understand the issue very slowly. I will not take much more time. I will finish. So the effects of technological innovation on employment can be ambiguous. Earlier we have discussed effect of innovation on productivity growth. There is no ambiguity here. Innovation obviously improves productivity. But we can say innovation obviously increases employment, or innovation obviously decreases employment. So there is ambiguity. That's why we have to look into the issue more carefully and into more detail. And the effect of innovation on employment is related particularly to the process innovation, not the product innovation. Process innovation means the process through which a particular product appears. So if we change the process in an innovative manner by using modern technology, then there will be the effect of it on employment, otherwise not. Okay. So, for the process innovation, the use of new technologies and capital may be labor saving. You can easily understand it. When we use a modern technology, it will save the labor. So, it will reduce employment, no doubt. But under competitive conditions, production costs reduce through innovation. When we apply modern technology, modern production process, production cost will reduce. When production cost reduces, its price will fall in the market. If its price falls in the markets, demand will rise in the market. If demand rises, its total production will rise. So, we have to look into the issue in this way. So, innovation, process innovation, although apparently labor saving, it can be competitive, and under competitive conditions, it will reduce production cost. Production cost, reducing of production cost lowers prices of the product, that increases in demand and sales, and that may offset any initial labor displacement. So, initially labor may be displaced because of modern technology, but in the long run, through this mechanism, when we use modern technology, labor will be displaced, particularly the unskilled labor will be displaced. But in the long run, those laborers which are displaced now will get job through this process, because application of new technology reduces production cost. If production cost reduces, price will reduce, because price is determined basically by the marginal cost of production. So, total production cost decreases means marginal cost will be lower. Marginal cost lower means price will be lower if the market is competitive. If price is lower, demand for that product will increase, market will be expanded. So, the scope of more production or more activities will appear. There will be the selling sector. So, when the expansion of market needs more sellings, so it needs more labor in the selling sector. So, on the one hand, innovation, the use of modern technology displaces workers. On the other hand, by the increasing the volume of sales, it can increase the scope of jobs for other kind of workers. Okay. And over time, the process innovation can shift labor to more skilled, higher paid jobs, and widespread adoption of new capital equipment would expand downstream sector of the economy. So, there is a linkage effect. So, if a particular sector expands through innovation, through the application of modern technology, the other sectors can expand, the downstream sector can expand, the related sectors can expand, where there will be a scope of more jobs. So, in that way, innovation one way reduces jobs through the application of labor saving technology. On the other hand, innovation can provide a scope of jobs by expanding the other sectors, other interrelated sectors. Okay. So, this kind of mechanism we have to think about, and there are some literature, major literature, where there are some research work how innovation have effect on employment. I have already mentioned there is no clear-cut decisions in the literature we can get whether innovation clearly reduces employment or whether innovation clearly improves employment. It depends on a lot of things. It is conditional. It depends on the demographic structure of an economy. It depends on the total market structure on the economy. So, depending on so many issues, we have to look into whether innovation have a positive effect on employment or not. And a lot of literature available, and most of them are related to the advanced countries. I am mentioning here a little. One work by Vivarelli in 2012. I am mentioning here the recent work. I am not going through the earlier work. So in this research work, the author observes a significant evidence in favor of skill biased hypothesis. Skill biased hypothesis means innovation tends to skill biased technological change. So that is, innovation increase demand for skilled workers. So this is called the skill biased hypothesis. So this author observes some evidence in favor of skill biased hypothesis across different OECD countries. Also, author observes a positive link between innovation. Innovation in this research work is measured by the expenditure on R&D and the product innovation and the employment. So there is a positive link between innovation and employment according to this research work, and we have to keep in mind this work is based on the OECD countries, the developed countries, not by covering the less developed countries. We can think another example, the research work done by Frey and Osborne in 2013. These authors looks at how automation and computerization of tasks may eventually render many labor tasks obsolete. So how computerization, how digitalization affect the total employment, this kind of analysis you can find if you go through this work. Another work we can mention here by Harrison, Janmendru and Mesri in 2014. They conduct a work to look at the product innovation and its effect on employment. And the authors observed by using some empirical work a positive impact of innovation on employment, but process innovation has a displacing effect on employment. So this is the outcome of this research work, and they use the data from developed countries like France, Germany, Spain and the United Kingdom. So by using the data for these 4 countries, the basic observations of this study is the positive impact of product innovation on employment, but negative impact of process innovation on employment. I have mentioned at the initial stage, innovation we can look at in terms of the change in production, quality of the production, as well as in terms of the change in the process of production. So there are 2 forms of innovation, and these authors in their extensive work by using data for 4 countries, and they are using the micro level data by collecting the farm level data, they have shown that the product innovation, that is the improvement of quality of the product, actually have the positive impact on employment. But process innovation, that is the application of modern technology, actually has the negative effect on employment. Okay, and this work is based on the highly developed countries, and if you look at the demographic structure of the highly developed countries, they are majority are the skilled workers, not like ours. So in the advanced countries, the effect of process innovation is negative on employment in aggregative form. Okay, but there is a little work on the underdeveloped countries, on the developing countries. So the effect or impact of innovations, how innovation actually have some effect on employment and productivity, there is no dearth of work and there is a very scope if you are interested in research work, how innovations affect employment, how innovation affects productivity. You can do by using the methodology developed in these studies we have already, and by using the data. Another problem in our country in carrying out research on innovation is the data relating issue. We don't have appropriate data that could be used to look into the problem properly. So this is one of the major issues why there is a lesser work on innovation and employment in a less developed country like ours. Okay? Now, if we directly go through the issue how to capture, how to measure innovation, if we have a data, and its impact on employment. So, let me first look at, তোমাদের কি ভালো লাগছে নাকি না বোর লাগছে? বোর লাগলে আমি ব্যাপারটাকে ছোট করে দেবো, আর যদি মোটামুটি মনে হয় যে না it may be useful, I can discuss, because as I feel you are from multidisciplinary, you are not from economics. Okay, so it may be difficult to understand properly if you have a biology background or other background, but if you try, you can understand. It is not so difficult, but you are to be active. So if you are not active, my task will not be basically useful for you. Okay, so if you want, I can discuss some basic issues. What I am discussing here, some basic issues, some basic aspects. If you are interested in future in looking at some work, the role of innovation on productivity and the role of innovation particularly on employment. So how employment is affected by innovation, how do we measure? So there is a measurement issue. So first of all, we have to look at the change in labor employment to find out the effect of innovation on employment. Okay? So suppose we have two types of products. One, the conventional product, a firm is already in the process of production, and another product is the appeared through innovation. So there are two products, product 1, product 2. Labor absorbed in the production of product 1 is denoted by L1. Labor absorbed in production 2, which come through the process of innovation, is L2. Okay? So we have a total labor L. Total labor L can be decomposed into two parts, L1 and L2. L1, that part which is absorbed in the conventional product, L2, which is absorbed in the new product coming from innovation. Okay? So we are interested to look at how labor employment changes. So the change in labor employment is measured conventionally by the labor growth or employment growth. What is employment growth? It is defined in a very simple manner, the change in employment by total employment. So if we look at equation 1, it is very simple, left hand side, delta L. Delta L indicates the change in labor divided by L, that is the total labor you have. Okay? And this change in labor can be looked at if you divide in two sectors. One, the traditional conventional sectors producing product 1. So here there may be a change in employment in the conventional sector after using the product innovation, and this change is measured by L1T minus L1 T minus 1 within bracket. What is T? T denotes the current period. Now we are here. So what is the total labor absorbed today? This is LT or L1T in production 1. What is L1T minus 1? The amount of labor absorbed in the previous day or the previous period. So if we take a difference, we can get the change. How do we get the change? Because you allow innovation, and because of innovation, another kind of product appears in the market, that is second product. So the impact will be production of the first product may decrease, may increase, may remain the same because of the appearance of the second product, and as a result, the total labor absorbed in the first product may increase, may decrease, may remain the same. That's why we need to look at the change in labor absorbed in product 1, okay, plus new labor needed for production 2, L2T. So L2T is the product, is the labor absorbed in the new product, and the first component within bracket indicates the change in labor in the traditional sector we have. Okay? So in this way, we can decompose the employment growth. So employment growth appears because of product innovation in this way. The employment, change in employment in the traditional sector plus additional employment in the new sector in output 2. How much time we can, I can get? 5 minutes. Okay, okay. So in this way, we can measure the change in labor. Okay. Now keeping in mind, so I am skipping this. We can relate this change of labor. If you are interested, I have provided this handout, so you can share it, you can go through it, and although all technical parts cannot be understandable to you, but the basic, the story you can understand. So here in equation 2, we can relate the total employment growth with the contribution of technology, because effect of employment growth basically appears through the technological change. So if we introduce a new technology, how it will affect the labor employment. So that is measured by the technological coefficients. I have used here the symbol theta 1, theta 2, etc. So I am not going into detail. So in this way, we can, so equation 2 is basically the translation of labor growth into the effect of the technological innovation like this. Okay. And if we look at equation 2 properly, we have basically decomposed the labor employment growth into 3 factors. What? First one is the improvement in the efficiency of the production process of the old products. And if we improve the efficiency, improvement of efficiency means producing a particular amount of product, you need less worker. So it will displace the employment if we need more efficient production process in the old product or the traditional sector. So the improvement in the efficiency of the production process, it basically has the negative effect on employment, since more efficient use of labor for the same amount of output implies less employment. Okay. The second part is change in production of the old product. So where an increase in production leads to more employment. So if we produce more, we need more labor. So there is a scope of more labor absorption by this component. The third component relates to the output growth associated with the product innovation, weighted by the ratio of efficiency between the old and new products. So if the new product that is coming as the outcome of the innovation are produced more efficiently than the old ones, the employment growth rises less than proportionately with the sales of the new product. So although employment increases in this way, it will not be proportional to the sale. Okay. Now the next part I have prepared for how you can apply to look at the effect of innovation on employment. For that purpose, you need some data, and if you have the data, you need some method how to calculate the relationship between innovation and employment. So here the left hand side is the employment growth, right hand side is the different proxies for innovation. So we have to capture those variables in terms of the data. So for that purpose we need appropriate data, but I have already mentioned in a country like ours there is a problem of data in looking at the issue. Okay. So basically the role of innovation on employment can be looked at by using enterprise survey, and there is a problematic survey in a country like ours, but although you have, if you are interested, you know, in our country there is an official Department of Statistics by the central government, Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, MOSPI in short. If you go through the MOSPI website, you can get a lot of data, and you can also find out some survey data, farm level data, household level data, free of cost. Earlier it was more very, very expensive, and it was not be possible for an individual researcher to use this kind of data, but today you can get freely if you go through the website. So you can utilize the enterprise survey. Also you can utilize another data that is called the annual survey of industries. So if you find out annual survey of industries, it is the factory level information. So you can get different information in different sectors, pharmaceutical sectors, automobile sectors, machine tools, etc. at the factory level on different parameters that can be used in finding out the link up between innovation and employment. And innovation you can use, innovation is a broad concept. So for measurement issue, you can use the expenditure on research and development as a proxy for innovation, and you can find out by using some simple statistical tools, simple econometric tools to find out a relationship between employment, productivity and innovations. Okay. So let me stop here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for such wonderful talk. So if any one of you are having any questions, then please kindly pass the mic. Sir, we often look over the critical aspects of economics, but your talk was really enlightening. So it was very much informative for all of us.
Okay, thank you. So if you are interested, you can share the handout. It is in a very, very summary form, and if you want to do some work on this area, you can contact me through your teacher. So as possible I can help you, no problem. Okay.
Good morning, sir. Sir, excuse me, I have a question.
Yes, tell.
So your talk on innovation and employability, it intrigues me a lot, and I agree with most of the points you made. Like the world is moving towards modernization, and the use of AI and machines is more than it has ever been in history. And you said that innovation is causing unemployability for the unskilled labor. But where innovation is the problem, it can be the solution as well. So are there any innovative solutions that can be made to stop this job pandemic that's coming in near future? And what is the suggestion you like to make to young minds like us so that we have a secure future?
No, actually, I have already mentioned that you cannot stop innovation. So, society runs by its own way. Okay, production process will run by its own way, and we have to be adapted by the process. Okay, and basically the pandemic, everything has a positive side, negative side. So there is a trade-off. So we have to think about the net effect. For example, pandemic. Pandemic creates a lot of problem, particularly in the health sector, in the health, human health. But COVID-19 pandemic also taught a lot. For example, we are today now conducting conference in hybrid mode. 5 years back, we did not think in organizing a conference like this in a hybrid mode or online mode. We are habituated in person, class lectures in person. But because of pandemic, we are forced to follow online platform in the class teaching, in exam, in facing interview, everywhere. And there are some positive effects as well. For example, if we conduct any program in a hybrid mode, it is possible to involve a broader expertise from the broader areas. It is possible to involve some experts from abroad without any cost. But it was not possible if we organize a program like this in person. For example, a particular expert can participate in this program from the Harvard University on online mode. But it may be difficult for him to participate in this kind of program if it is in person. Okay. So, pandemic, we have to have some learning from this kind of crisis. It destroys a lot in our society, in our human bodies, but we have to fight against it. We have to fight against any kind of crisis, any kind of problem. And as a young people like you have to survive. So for the survival, you have to think in a new way, not in a traditional way, not in a conventional way. We have thought in 10 years back, 15 years back. So ultimately your objective is to get a good job. So how to get a job? You have to prepare accordingly. You cannot stop application of artificial intelligence. You cannot stop application of machine learnings. So you have to be prepared accordingly such that you can be absorbed in the new kind of situation. Okay?
Yes, I do have a follow-up question. What about the unskilled laborers of India? Like there are 20 to 30% unskilled laborers in
Yes.
India. What about them? We can't just abandon them.
Yes, yes. Unskilled, they can be absorbed in an alternative way because as if you go through the handout, innovation on the one hand displaces labor, unskilled labor. On the other hand, it creates a lot of scope for absorbing unskilled labor. For example, if we succeed in product innovation, there is a lot of scope of expansion of different sectors, downstream sectors. So through the expansion of the downstream sectors, we can create a scope of jobs for this kind of workers as well. Okay,
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Thank you, sir. So, sir, due to stringency of time, we
Yes,
will
yes,
be
no
not
problem.
taking
Yes,
any more
yes.
questions. They
Thank
can
you.
ask you afterwards. Thank you, sir. So now I would like to call Professor Naveen Das, Pro Vice Chancellor, Academic Affairs and Dean, School of Business and Economics, and Professor Jitendra Kumar Pandey, Professor Vice Chancellor, Research and Development Affairs and Dean, School of Basic and Applied Sciences, to come up on the dais, and I would like to call Dr. Shoptoshi Chatterjee to felicitate them. Thank you, sir. So our next session is panel discussion, and the theme is Roadmap for Achieving Sustainable Development Goals. So the entire session will be moderated by Dr. Shoptoshi Chatterjee. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, everyone. It is my proud privilege to be among the two very learned senior colleague of mine, Pro Vice Chancellor Academic Affairs and Pro Vice Chancellor Research and Development, whom you have heard in various platforms. But I would like to facilitate this session as a representative of students or faculty members, and the theme of our discussion would be on innovation, its impact on higher education, and how it aims to cover the sustainable development goals. So without further ado, I thank both Naveen sir and Jitendra Pandey sir for gracing the occasion. And first I would like to hear from Naveen sir his thought on innovation and its requirement on sustainable development. And then we will move to Pandey sir, and then we will come to our question answer format.
Good morning to all of you, all my dear students. Few of my colleagues I can see here, and most importantly, our respected guest of honor today, Dr. Das. So thank you for gracing the occasion, responding to our invitation. For the last 2 days, we have been hearing from various people about innovation, about how an invention traverses the path through innovation into the society, and how you, most of you who are students here, how you are going to play a very, very important role in this transformation of society into a knowledge society. How many of you have heard this term called knowledge society? Knowledge society? Please raise your hands. How many of you have heard the term knowledge society? None. None of you. Knowledge economy? How many of you have heard the term knowledge?
Still many hands are not.
Wow.
Wow.
Almost everyone.
This is exactly what we do as teachers. When we have our first quiz and we see that 80% of them are not qualifying, then we lower the standard and then further lower the standard by the term end. Now this is exactly what has happened in the world. Have you imagined, though we are calling ourselves members of the knowledge economy, knowledge society, apparently we are much more evolved than our grandparents, how our great-grandparents or grandparents were much more aware of the world, were much more wiser than most of us. They perhaps were not aware. If you ask them what is synthetic biology, they may not have an answer. If you ask them what is happening in Ukraine and Russia, before we came here, both Pandit sir and myself, we were debating and discussing about, though at the heart of our hearts, both of us were with Ukraine, but we also understand the compulsions of the world. So we are much more aware, but over the generations what has happened is that our awareness has taken away the wisdom part of our knowledge. The awareness has taken away the wisdom part of our knowledge. Every knowledge has a wisdom component, which has nothing to do with data, information, etc. Google, many people say, when I ask them, what is driving our knowledge today? They say Google. But remember, Google is not knowledge. Google is just a window for information and data. Today, right now, how many of you will be able to name the president of Ukraine? Who is the president of Ukraine? Maybe one or two hands. And others are very comfortably sitting because you know that if I force you, you will immediately search Google and you will tell me the answer. But that's not knowledge. That's just a piece of information. In fact, for most of us, it is just a piece of information. Before this, let me tell you, even I didn't know the name of the president. The name of the president became popular among all of us because there is something going on in the world. And that also happens with knowledge. That also happens with wisdom. When people start feeling for something, they traverse from data, information to knowledge. Societal problems similarly needs feelings. They need wisdom. They don't need data and information. So those of you who think that just a degree or just a collection of few papers or projects is going to make you a contributory member of the society, I think you're wrong. And that is the reason why both of us, we decided that we should take a slightly different path for this panel discussion. The way that we have decided we are going to go about is, we will just put forth a few questions in your mind, and then we'll take those questions back from you, and then we will have a discussion. Right, Pandit sir?
Yes, sir.
Rather than, being just a monologue. So, first question is, when we decide on the roadmap of anything, most of you have given at least one or two public examinations already, right? Class 10, class 12, these are public examinations. Even taking a public examination needed a plan. You put out a plan for yourself that I'll wake up at 5 o'clock, from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock, brushing my teeth, taking baths, etc. 6:30 breakfast, and then I'll sit for study. Now that needed a plan. Similarly, for most of the societal problems, you need a plan. So in your mind, I'm sure most of you know that society has a number of problems. Poverty, when you go out, you see poverty, right? You see beggars. So think of one problem in your mind, and we'll come back again to you. In the meantime, you are going to do that homework for us, so that we can carry on the debate and discussion, and panel discussion particularly. So what is that one single problem that you want to solve through your education? At a larger scale in the world, some wise men came together about maybe 8-9 years ago, and they thought about the biggest problems facing the world, categorized them into 3 or 4 buckets, and from there emanated 70 goals, which they are calling Sustainable Development Goals. So that must also have the second question in your mind. Sustainability or sustainable goals are different from unsustainable goals. You want to reach from point A to point B, you can take a cab, you can bicycle, you can walk, you can take an aeroplane, a helicopter. Suppose you are born in the family of Ambanis, perhaps you might decide to take a helicopter. Which of these is sustainable and why? That's the second question in your mind. So sustainable development goals are not only trying to solve the world problems, but they're trying to solve them sustainably, so that the world is passed on to the next generation in the same way or perhaps even better than you inherited. All of us, Dr. Das, Dr. Pandey, Dr. Chatterjee, when we were young, I remember we used to take...
He's still young.
Okay, to some extent, Saptarshi exception. But at least I remember we used to drink straight from the tap.
Ah, yes.
We used to play on the grounds, and invariably every school ground used to have a tap. Even now you have, right? How many of you even dare to touch that water or forget about drinking? But we used to drink that water straight from the tap.
Even during trains, we were filling the bottles from.
We used to fill our bottles on platforms straight from the tap. Straight from the tap. Many a time I remember going to my village and just plucking a mango or a lychee from our garden and eating them straight. Perhaps I would just rub them on my shirt like this. That's it. Today, how many of you would dare to do that? Because you know that on the fruit, there are chemicals. There are depositions of chemicals. Is this sustainable development? So that's with that second question. I would take a stop now, break now, and request Pandey sir to just carry forward this.
Okay, it's almost lunch time, sir. So when they want to eat, we will not eat them. See, just to add some point in what sir said, sometimes we feel like how we can contribute in SDGs. This is something so big, it required a lot of heavy investment to do research, to develop some technologies. It required some policy decisions from central government, from United Nations, and then suddenly SDG will be met. It is mixed things. SDG cannot be met without addressing the issues of the people who are at the bottom of pyramid. Now I will talk about how you can contribute. It is about action points. Lecture you are hearing, all the information is available on Google. So let's discuss how you can contribute in the SDGs. I'll give you one example. Toothbrush, 20 grams, almost 20 gram weight. Whole humanity is producing 60 crores kilogram of waste in 1 year from the 60 lakhs kilogram, 600 million kilogram. So if you start collecting your toothbrush from today, after 10 years, 15 years, you will be able to sell, say, 500 rupees, 600 rupees, something. But this is not the point of, earning money from that. One habit for not throwing the toothbrush can change lot of things in terms of collection of plastic waste. See, plastic waste, the biggest problem of plastic waste is not plastic itself. The biggest issue is we are not throwing it properly. So problem is segregation at the point of collection. Plastic is very good in terms of recycling. Plastic is very good, in terms of microbial resistance. Most of the students are from science. It can be used for various medical applications, for various packaging. It's hydrophobic in nature, lightweight, very cheap. Plastic is very good in nature. But we have something in mind that plastic is very harmful for environment. Yes, it is harmful when we are throwing it in a non-proper way. So this one habit, collecting toothbrush, not throwing plastic anywhere other than designated places. Small things you can do. And that plastic can be the wrapper of your chocolate. It can be even small polythene bags. Third point, toothbrush, plastic, third. Okay, in this toilet closet, flush water, around 8 to 9 liter of water in every flush. Whenever we are going to use toilet or something, I mean, it's in our habit, we are just pressing that lever and 10 liter water is gone. In your homes, you can do a very simple thing. And this is called frugal innovation. Frugal innovation is nothing but something to solve local problem at affordable price. So frugal innovation cannot give you patent, frugal innovation cannot give you publication, but frugal innovation can give you a mental satisfaction that you have done something for this planet. Take this water bottle, maybe 1 liter or half liter water bottle, fill it with sand and put into your flushing tank. So you will be able to save around 1 liter of water per flush. Now it depends on the frequency, but generally people are going 6 times, 7 times. So you will save around 7 liter water per day. 7 into 365. Per household. Right? So this amount of water you will save in 1 year, imagine in 10 years, 15 years and 20 years, and if you are living on this planet for 70 or 80 years, then just imagine. Here are the action points. First one, कहाँ हो तुम लोग? Toothbrush. Second one, what we need to do for plastic? Right place. Okay. And third one is? Some of you might be hostelites, some of you might be living in PGs, some of you might be having your own home. Will you really do it? Even 10% of you are, using this, you are going to save millions of water in coming years. This is how we can contribute in sustainability development goals. We don't have to be Einstein or Newton or some very big person to invest high money to do some novel kind of discovery and suddenly SDG will be met. Not possible. Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. Right? Toilets were made everywhere, every house, every toilet. How many of you have seen the construction of that pit? That is only, say, 1 meter, 2 meter deep. And this is contaminating the groundwater. Very few people, might have worked or they dare to say it or publish this work. It is contaminating groundwater. This is not sustainability development goals. It's tick in the box. What I want to say, every one of you can contribute. Every one of you can think from that point of view. That is called frugal innovation. And to give a real term to frugal that is more understandable, it's called jugaad in India. Van is a jugaad. Sometime you have tractor, trolley on your motorbike, that's a jugaad. Sometime you have very innovative techniques for drinking water supply or something, that is jugaad. Some of you, nowadays we have this habit of washing our hands. Think about the people who are living in the villages. They don't have that liberty of these plastic bottles and all these hand wash and sanitizers. So what they might be doing? Anything if coming in your mind, just suggest to Saptarshi sir. He is here to support. So this e-Yuva center is not limited to discussions, talks, seminars, lunch, dinners, whatever it is. This e-Yuva center is actually to support you. What we cannot think, you can think. Just remember. What we cannot think, you can think. What we cannot do, you can do. That's why even government is saying it's a e-Yuva center. So try to think from societal point of view. There are a lot of people who are big intellectuals. They will criticize each and everything, but your job is not only criticizing, but to suggest some solutions. It's very easy to say this government is not doing anything, this person is not doing anything, university में इतना ज़्यादा class होता है, क्या करेगा हम? Hostel food is not good, this is not that, so इतना ज़्यादा all environment is dusty, and this is very easy to say. I mean, we had a drive through community service. 95% of the teacup of plastic, sir, they were just littering anywhere. And some people are so intelligent, they will not throw it in open way because it is very easily visible. You can collect it and clean it. They will throw somewhere inside the, gutters or in these flower plants or somewhere. It's not even visible. So they are trying their best to make, whole thing very complicated. If you are, suppose some of you are, very good in nature, you may not, you may not like to throw it proper place. कि ठीक है, एक polythene है, it's okay, I'll not throw. क्या हो जाएगा? Then please throw it at somewhere where it is easily visible. At least this much help you can do for the person who is cleaning our campus. So try to think from that point of view. Is it possible to replace that plastic cups? And you can always send your suggestion to e-Yuva center. This is for you. This e-Yuva center is mainly for such type of thing. Okay, suddenly something came in your mind. Okay, this classroom has a size of 60 people, but whenever even 10 people are sitting, still all the fans and lights are open. So why so much energy is required? So I want to develop some kind of sensor. That sensor will detect number of people in the classroom and only that much light will be there. You just write to Saptarshi sir. He is here. The e-Yuva center in this zone is just for you. It's not for anyone else. So with this, I would like to, for the moment, I would like to conclude. If there is any question, then definitely we will keep discussing.
Thank you, sir, for the wonderful insight of very small yet impactful innovations. And sir has already stimulated your mind with questions which are food for thought. So now I would like to take up some questions because very rarely you get the opportunity to meet both the Pro-Vice Chancellors. So let us take this opportunity in answering the questions. I hope the panel would be loving to do that.
Hello. Good morning, everyone. So can I speak in Bengali because it is easy to make you understand. Okay, sir. Firstly, sir, যেটা বললেন যে স্যার আগে গ্রাম মানে গ্রাম একদম গ্রাম থেকে বিলং করতো এখন অ্যাকচুয়ালি স্যার আমি কিন্তু খুব রুরাল একটা এরিয়া থেকে বিলং করি একটা ভিলেজ লাইক আপনি আশা করি কাকদ্বীপ নামখানার নাম শুনেছেন ওই বকখালি দিক থেকে সো আমি সেদিকে দেখেছি মানে যারা একদম ওল্ড পিপল ছিল মানে পুরনো যারা দাদু দিদা এরা ছিল তখন এই যে ব্রাশের কথাটা বললেন না স্যার তখন একটা আই এম ডেয়ারিং টু সে ইউ দ্যাট ওরা তখন ওই ঘুঁটে হতো এবার ঘুঁটেটাকে ওরা মানে যখন ওটা ইউজ করতো রান্নার কাজে মানে জ্বালানি হিসেবে দেন কিছুদিন পরে ওই যে ছাইটাকে নিয়ে স্যার ওই ছাইটাকে নিয়ে স্যার ব্রাশ করতো অ্যান্ড স্যার ওই যে নারকেলের পাতা হয় ওটাকে কেটে লাইক আমরা যেরকম এখন মানে জিপটাকে পরিষ্কার করার জন্য যেটা ইউজ করি সো সেটা ইউজ করতো সো স্যার মানে এটা তো স্যার এখন ডেভেলপ সোসাইটি বলে লাইক অনেক কিছুই চলে এসেছে কিন্তু তখনও তো মানুষ সেরকম থাকতো এবং সেটা তো মানে এনভায়রনমেন্টকে হ্যাম্পার করতো না সো স্যার আই ডোন্ট নো how to make these things so can you say
I would ask sir to take up the question, but I would just want to add something. See, many of the things what was there in the rural or ancient with the ancient people, now we need to find a scientific answer to it. There, see, if you tell that they were healthy, they were not polluting environment, and today we are doing so, it's truth. But on the other hand, if you see the life expectancy has drastically increased, your span of life, your speed of life, everything has increased. So you cannot go back to that. But on the other hand, you have the liberty to find out the essential aspects of that, prove it through science, modify it, and then implement it for the society. Okay, now if you see the advertisement of various toothpaste, you would almost see like that it's a kitchen. It is having namak, it is having haldi, it is having it is having clove, so it is just like a spices. So why are these things there? The reason is they are able to prove it scientifically that that particular component is essential. So if you can scientifically prove that and go back, that would be the best option, that is knowing from the nature and going back to the nature. Rather than just believing that they were using, so let me use, that would not give the modern society an acceptance to that. So I think sir can add on to this.
Yes. See, trigger may be anything. It may be business, it may be, the awareness toward the environment. Most of the things are coming back to the so-called Ayurveda. In your soap, you will see all kind of these things, haldi, namak, aloe vera, tulsi. So somehow some awareness is there that we are trying to achieve the same thing in a proper packaging or scientific way. So your question was it that this is bad and how to change it. Like in case if you want to change this thing, how to change it. So the immediate answer is when something is burned, it is converted to carbon. Most of the time, it may not have microbes and bacteria, may not. But you come with that particular sample, test it in your lab, try to analyze that these are the things available in this particular component, and if you are doing say soxalate extraction or what's that washing with clean water or washing with something, and you are able to remove those impurities and coming out with some pure product, then definitely this is a very natural thing. It can become even a business idea, but you have to what we believe in science. Simple. We believe in something else, that energy is called God, because we do not have any explanation and all. That's a different part. It's a big thing. But normally we believe what we feel. If I am giving you photo of fire and explaining you this is a fire, it can burn you or all these things, you may not, realize what is fire. And without telling you anything, if I am giving you fire and asking you put your finger in it, you will remember for whole life. So science is something like this. The moment you are coming up with some scientific proof, showing to all the people into your villages that this is how you can clean it, it is going to solve. It's a good business idea. Go ahead with it.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, we have some other questions.
Good morning, sir. My question to you is that how can we manage sewage problem? Like millions of liters of sewage is generated every day. So how can we manage that?
See, Basu, suppose we are using 100 liter of water for one person in a house. Just roughly calculation. Out of that, 80% we are using for cleaning of clothes, kitchen, taking bath, mopping and all. Only 20% we are using as a flush water. That is going to toilet. Flush water is called black water and other water is called grey water. As the name indicating that black water might be having lot of contaminations and grey water might be having less contamination. So how to reduce the amount of sewage is just simple to have separate drainage lines for both. In India, what's happening, all the water is going toward one line and going to the sewage. So whatever energy and money you are using to purify to whole 100% of water, you will be able to purify just 20% of that water with a less amount of money. So automatically sewage problem will be solved. The only problem at present is coming that whatever we are using inside house, it's going through just one line. So we have to treat all water as a black water. However, black water was only 20%. So again, there are people who are working in grey water area. I am working in grey water area. Some very well-known scientist, Dr. Roy, he is in engineering. He is, I think, emeritus professor with us. He is working in grey water. So you can come up with this plan. No issue. Like the only problem is we need to devise a small, a small system for single household use. Okay, in your house, if you are constructing new house or if you are going for, you can meet with the builders who are making new apartments. So it is easy to have separate lines. But already something is constructed, it's difficult.
Thank you, sir. We have someone there for a question.
This question Naveen sir will reply.
Thank you, sir. And hello, everyone. Sir, my question.
Unseen question.
No, go ahead.
So my question to you is that actually instead of asking a question, I'm just giving a suggestion which I just got knowledge from. You can say one from Singapore, and another actually from my mother's land or place where my mother belongs from. So because my mom is from Thakurnagar and it's a village, so I actually have seen people practicing biogas, thing over there. So my idea to this is that a human per day produces a lot of waste, like the feces I'm talking about. So can't we use that particular waste as a biogas? And secondly, the water that we are wasting, instead of completely throwing it away, we can purify it again because Singapore does that. Singaporeans, they don't have a lot of water. So instead of that, what they do is like they use the water, recycle it, and they again use it even for drinking.
What's your name, please?
Sir?
What's your name?
Sanramji.
Sangram. Sit down, Sangram. Thank you for the question. Thank you for the question. Very, very involved question, rather. And evolved also. See, any comparison with a country like Singapore, which is a state city, right? A city country, right? Is doing a little bit of injustice to India. Long back, in 2001 or 2 perhaps, 2001, 2002, we did a project in Hyderabad about costing of municipal water. Costing of municipal water. In India, costing of water is still unknown. Most of us, we are using water as if it is nobody's business to store or to conserve, as if we don't pay, though you and I actually pay for that water, but we don't pay directly. Singapore as a state city had implemented this costing of water and asking citizens to pay per use or by use way back, perhaps in the 1980s or 90s when Lee Kuan was perhaps the president, right? Whereas in India, being such a large country, these are good to have, good to think, but very, very difficult to implement. Look at the kind of water which is getting wasted in the name of free water to farmers. Recently, I have written a case on farmers' agitation, and that was a prickly point. I mean, farmers who are used to free water taken out from the ground and then given to them free, you can rest assured that in that country there won't be any respect for water. And this is just one of the examples, right? Just like water, even electricity. Look at the number of fans and lights that keep glowing and running even when we leave the rooms. It's not in our culture. It's not in our culture. So the SDGs, the 17 of them, they have been prepared with a lot of thought, and that's why I think the founding fathers of those SDGs, they have given a target of 2030. We still have 8 years to go, right? Hopefully we will reach somewhere in between. But large countries would always have those problems. So that's the Singapore part of it. I don't know, I would leave this to Pandey sir to give you a scientific reason why biogas cannot be used at a scale that India needs. But just to give a very generic answer, a slightly economic answer, with the temerity that an economics professor is sitting here from Calcutta University, but still I would give, somewhere economic compulsions of countries, they dictate our behavior. And in a country like India compared to Singapore, where there is a little bit of homogeneity in the economic strata, vis-a-vis India, I think many of these SDGs will be difficult to fulfill. Many of these SDGs. I'm sure many of you know that though it is a parlance, but there is a philosophy behind that in a country like ours of this stature, there are two Indias coexisting side by side. An India that we call, that you and I are very comfortable living in, and there is a Bharat that perhaps the boy and I belong to, but now I am a citizen of India, migrated from Bharat, internal migration. Okay, so, and these two juxtaposition of philosophies, of milieu, of realities, is the root of many of the problems. How many of you know that there are 40% households which still burn the wood for their daily cooking? There are villages where there is one source of treated water, so-called treated water. The grounds have already been contaminated. We know that. And the logic is very, very simple. Take any space, say 50 by 50 feet. There used to be just one house with one family in a suburban area. Today in that space, there is a 10-storied building inhabited by 40 families. So when the water consumption requirement has multiplied that much, or that many multifold, it's very difficult to assume that the water would get back to that level. Impossible. And sustainable goals are actually easy to read, easy to find an immediate solution, but to make them sustainable, that is where the challenge is. So my second question to you was, what is that that one problem, or first question, one problem that you want to solve. So what is it that perhaps you want to solve, Sangram?
Presently, actually, I was planning out the biogas treatment thing, but as you have mentioned it, I will again rethink about it, and I'll find some more solutions towards that, and I'll work on it.
Yeah, Sangram, in India we are facing lot of traditional and conceptual issues. Listen, I have seen people, they are just not using biogas because it is made from, some dung or something, and they don't want to cook their tea or any food on that because this gas is coming from, some resources. So this is perception. But I think this will go away, mental blocks, and this will go away with time. Now, using human waste for energy, it's a well-known idea. People are having company on it, and this can be done. I mean, this is not a big issue, but it needs some kind of investment. The second part is additionally, many countries, they are having plants where you can produce ammonia from urine. Ammonia is utilized for various industrial applications, and this is a huge amount of ammonia. So that is also possible. If you can read something, go through Google and try to find out some kind of solution, some small device, at least how to collect the urine and send to the bigger plant. That will also be a good business idea. You don't have to take out ammonia and put a whole system in place. If you can develop some innovative issues, some innovative solutions to address these issues of supply chain, like how you can effectively collect the urine and send to the plant. That is also a business idea. Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
But on a lighter note, Sangram, तुम्हारा शादी हो गया? अभी नहीं हुआ. Because you should not be tagged as a urine collector. Don't worry, it's okay. Once you have money, everything, goes away.
No, sir. As you said about the Swachh Bharat mission, that it has created lakhs of toilets in rural areas and it is now contaminating the groundwater.
Some reports are there, yes.
So how can it will be now be as the cost of that making that sewage water management systems and all, not increase the cost effect of that project?
See, I'll tell you one thing. There are very few reports of such type of issues. Very few. And these reports are not even verified. So I have just said it for the sake of discussion. Now, in case if there is any possibility, in case, then it need to be tested. So the first thing I will suggest you to collect the water from the surroundings in and around of that particular pit, test it in lab, see what kind of contaminations are there, collect some 150 or 70 type of samples, and then we will come up that this is the problem, and now we can have such type of say sand bed or any kind of things that can solve this problem. Mainly I think it's a coliform related things will be there, coliforms will be there, so that can be solved. But before that, we need to have some scientific evidence. But overall, this is a success. Just imagine like our grandfathers and mothers, the way they were going to to fields for yes. So that was actually disgusting for any respectful nation. So that is a great success from that point of view.
To answer your first question that you have asked, sir, I want to change the mentality of people about throwing waste in open areas, because in my house also I have open area in my place. So everyone throws waste. Means
Like nobody's business. What's your name, beta?
the Sorajit.
Saurajit.
Yes.
Saurajit. Surjo. Wash. Sit down. There is a book I would request some of you, if you remember, and if you are interested, there is a book written by Professor V. Raghunathan, V for victory, V. Raghunathan. The title of the book is very interesting. The title of the book is Games Indians Play. Games Indians Play. Have you noticed how we jostle for space, shortcutting the queues even in airports, which is supposed to be, place for elites, people who can travel, who can afford to travel, even they jostle for just shortcutting. To line, take to kauke dhakka mere. And you know that all of them who have checked in, there will be a seat. So this is happening in the security check. And when it is about to land, how people queue up, just like a typical bus. And the crew request ardently, please sit down, the flight has not yet ended, it is still taxing. People all trying to go near the gate and get out of the... Similarly, just like your household, maybe I'm exaggerating, but yes, I have also seen people throwing waste just onto the neighbor's place or in the open place. In my house, I have a very cryptic, a bit taunting word for my family members who do that. I say, good citizen. So wherever I am, if something is happening like that, I just say, good citizen. That means you are proving what a great citizen you are. So Indians, we are individually very intelligent, but publicly we are morons. We behave like idiots. And this idiot is not from that Three Idiots book. Literally we behave like nincompoops. So please read that book, Games Indians Play. You will find quite a few, not just one example, quite a few examples as to why India is like this. So in spite of all these missions, etc., many of them have been implemented, half implemented without the ecosystem. There are many, many villages where there is no running water, and there having a modern toilet is meaningless. Yes, we have gone pretty far away from those days when your and my feces were carried on the heads by a certain class and caste of people. Horrible stories. Again, if you want to read that book or read about that part of the history, there is a book written by, you can Google it right now. The title of the book is Lottery of Birth. Lottery of Birth. Lottery of Birth. It was just a lottery that some people they took birth in a community which was supposed to carry your feces on their head. Anyone have found out? He's a senior of mine, so age is catching up. I don't even remember immediately. What's the name? Huh? Aurora. No, I asked the author's name. Which Aurora? Namit Arora. Namit is a senior of mine from Kharagpur. So Namit has written a book called Lottery of Birth. Read that book. You will see a glimpse of Bharat which is still there. There are still municipalities where people expect other people to come and collect their feces and take them away. They don't use their toilets. There are people who still prefer to do many things in the antediluvian way. Coming to the initial part of the discussion, I think there has been a general notion of a heroic age coming today. And that's why we are trying to explain many of the scientific phenomena with our 3,000-year-old scriptures, etc. Right? There has been a revival of sorts. My suggestion to all of you would be, as Pandey sir said, develop the scientific mind. It is better to be a bit balanced on any of these questions and debates that the society is facing. Neither the heroic explanation of that we had the answer for everything is right, nor the other way around that we are perennially going to be a developing nation. When we were young, we used to have an economic term called Hindu rate of growth, with a lot of offense meant on the community. Hindu rate of growth, which was just about, say, 2-3%, and India was growing at that rate. Whichever government used to come, they could not sustain a growth beyond that, could not pull India out of that. In the last 20-30 years, I think a miracle has happened, irrespective of the governments. None of us actually belong to any political party, I am sure. So it is absolutely because Indians, generation after generation like you, have pulled the country out of morass. And that's a good thing. So have a balance, be positive, think scientifically, and only then there will be a knowledge economy which will develop. If we think that we should become a society which is knowledge society, you have to think like a knowledge person or knowledgeable person. And that knowledge is not on Google. It is residing in that, 300, 400 grams or 500 grams of that gray matter up there. But yes, to develop that, you have to read. So, at the same breath, in spite of, colleagues from outside being here, I must express my little disappointment when I asked questions and there were no hands raised. Participate, read, jog your mind. At least every day, make it a habit of reading 10 pages to 20 pages outside your text. Text everybody is doing. But beyond your text, learn about India. There is so much to learn. I've given you 2 books. If you want more, there is a book called Mega Trends. 2 economists have written the book Mega Trends. Aberdeen and Naisbitt. Naisbit and Aberdeen, Aburdene. It's called Mega Trends. All of you are millennials. Because about 20 years ago, we switched over to a new century, a new millennium. You belong to that generation. Read that book and you will see how the world has changed in the last 50 years. The whole point is to take this country from where it is to the next level, not regress back. So we are not suggesting any one of you to use cow dung powder as a toothpaste or tooth powder, or just like our grandparents, go to the fields. Or for that matter, please don't drink all those urine. It doesn't cure any of your diseases. Be scientific. Question. You belong to the land of Vivekananda, who used to say that unless and until I see and test out, I won't believe anything. Don't believe anything. There is a revival, wrongly, of a heroic age of India. Maybe it was needed to some extent, but don't get swayed completely on that side. Put your balance in place. The fulcrum is very important. If you tilt on the other side, you will be called by some names. If you tilt on the other side, people might question your too much of rationality. That's also bad. Okay. Thank you very much.
And sometime, clapping mean khatam karo isko, hame jana hai. But just to add one thing to this waste wala problem, if you can do it, and this is a tested trick, on Sundays or Saturday, whenever you have time, there might be some particular time when people are throwing this waste outside. Just go there, stand with your friends, and whoever is coming and throwing the waste, say thank you. Thank you. This is one way. It needs a lot of courage. Second way is we can start at a mass waste warrior type of program. So if you can, if you have that courage, then just wear some gloves and collect some waste, dry waste. Try to utilize in a way where you can earn some money. And the moment you are showing other people, at least in that particular, do not try to solve problem of whole world. You cannot do it. This world was never without problem. महाभारत में भी था, रामायण में भी था. जब राम नहीं कर सके तुम क्या करोगे? So try to solve problem of that particular small place where you are living. So if you can collect 3-4 like-minded people, 5 like-minded people, collect that waste, earn some money, and show those garbage people. You can call them GP, garbage people who are throwing the garbage. That this is how you are able to earn some amount from your waste. And the moment one person is thinking, oh, he is getting rich because of me, he will stop throwing it. Human behavior you cannot change until unless you show some danda, or you show some pyar, genuine pyar, or you show some money. So this is called DPM, danda, pyar and money. So try to go with money wala thing. Okay? And this thank you wala part, if you can do it like plastic, toothbrush and then this sand bottle water. If you can do it, this thank you wala part, whenever you see someone, wherever you are, you may be in shopping mall, on roads, and somebody is throwing somewhere, just say thank you, sir. That will change at least, thousands of people, maybe 1,000, 2,000 people in next 2-3 years. I can tell you this much, even this amount of people can change thousands of people. So what we will say if somebody is throwing, anything that is, that should not be thrown, what we will say to them? Thank you. Thank you, you are good citizen, yes. Please keep throwing, something like that.
So I hope I need not tell this thank you to you in the cafeteria. That's the first pledge you have to take, right?
Sir, you were talking about plastic toothbrush once. So some companies are using bamboo toothbrushes. So can it be useful in the place of using?
Yes, that's good. Bamboo, neem, or anything. I mean, see, plastic toothbrush is a kind of mixed plastic. You have, top part is made of nylon, then you have some polypropylene, some polyethylene, some composites. So it's a horrible mixture of various plastics. It cannot be even recycled by melting. So definitely if you are coming up with any solution on which you can put your paste and, rub your teeth, it may be bamboo, neem, or whatever it is, then that's going to be great.
Identifying the problem is very important, because we have seen some very sustainable solution and the innovations are very petty. For example, I have seen instead of using plastic straw, people started using straw made up of steel or paper. Okay, so these are small innovations, but they have a very long impact when they are cumulated. So you should start dreaming of solution rather than asking a solution to your teachers, because we have failed. Let me be very frank that we have failed to give a better world which we could have been. At least I can tell from my part. But that should not come to you, and you should say that we have tried our level best to give a better world to the next generation. I think that's from my end.
And a proper solution or proper innovation can even make you millionaires. Who knows?
Definitely.
There are examples. Okay, thank you.
So with this, I thank all the students and honorable guests for gracing the occasion. I thank you all. We will meet at 1:45. Okay, thank you very much.